Hello everybody, my name is Richard Sears. In China they call me Uncle Hanzi or Hanzi Shushu. It means the uncle who studies Chinese characters. When I was young, I grew up in America. I only spoke English. When I was 22, I went to Taiwan to learn to speak Chinese. I wasn't a especially good student. I became a physicist. And at the age of 40, I decided I was going to learn to read and write. In order to read and write Chinese, you must know several thousand complicated characters. Well, I was a scientist. I don't like blind memorization to learn things that have no apparent meaning. And I knew that every part of every Chinese character was ultimately derived from a pictograph. If you knew the original pictograph and you knew the original meaning and you could see the changes over time, then every character is logical. So I spent about 20 years making a database and a website that explained all of the common characters that they use in modern Chinese. And people ask me, why do you like to know the origins of Chinese characters? Well, number one, I don't like blind memorization. If you grew up in China and you were a child, most children just blindly memorize. I wasn't a child. So I spent a lot of time trying to figure out what these nasty, complicated characters actually meant. So today I want to explain a character and how it's derived its entire history so you can understand why I think this is interesting. The character is Yi. It often comes from a word called Yishu, which means art. But there's another word that has that character in it called Yuan Yi. Now this character, I'm going to explain this character and the parts. You know that about 70 years ago, the Chinese simplified Chinese. Now this character, Yi, this bottom part, is pronounced E. It means two in Chinese. Some people say it comes from a sprout, but in this character it's only there to represent the pronunciation. But this character is basically not logical. Now let's look at the old character, the traditional character. It's pretty complicated, looks pretty complicated. It looks like this. Now this character is really complicated, and most modern Chinese, they don't have an idea what it means. No clue. I'm going to break this character apart and explain what it means. First of all, it means art. So we look at this bottom character here, which is a cloud. And it looks kind of pretty much like a cloud hanging there in the sky. What does a cloud have to do with gardening? Well, it has to do with weather. The weather has to be right for you to do gardening. So let's look at the next part down. This comes from, this top part looks like this, and sometimes we just make it like this, and it comes from two things that look like plants. They look like sprouts. The sprouts on top means anything having to do with plants or gardens. So we have this component here, which indicates that it has something to do with plants. So let's look at the remaining part. We have this part here. Now this also means gardening. Now this character had been around for hundreds of years, so these characters together are pronounced Liu, and this character is pronounced Wan, but all of those components are wrong. They are wrong because they got distorted over time. And so many parts of modern characters are actually the wrong parts. They are parts that have been, I call them remnants. Remnants are parts that have become written wrongly. So I'm going to write a character how it should have been written if it was written correctly. So this is a character for a tree, and this is the character for earth, and this is the character for a man kneeling with his hands out doing something. This is planting a tree in the grass, in the ground, and this is a man with his two hands. Now, it may not look like that, but if we go back to the original character about 3,500 years ago, you can see that this tree, okay, here's the tree. These are the branches, these are the roots. And this is basically a pot. It's a pot where you can plant something in it, and that pot represents earth. So you're basically planting a tree in the earth. And you have this man kneeling, two hands here, and this man is kneeling. And you can see pretty clearly this is a man, his feet, he's kneeling, he has two hands, he's planting something in the earth. So this is the original character for art or for gardening, and it's logical. You can see how this thing here was part of the man with his two hands here, and this is part of the tree, and this is part of the earth. Every Chinese character has this kind of origin. So if you completely understand this character, you'll understand about 15 other characters. And that's one of the things that I think that is very beautiful about learning Chinese characters. If you understand what the parts mean or what they originally meant, then you understand the story and the history of Chinese and Chinese characters. And it's much better than just memorizing thousands of characters blindly. So that's why I am interested in Chinese characters. I always try to encourage people who are interested in digging deeply. I'm a physicist. I try to dig deeply into and try to understand the universe. It doesn't matter what you try to understand. I encourage you to dig deeply and don't just memorize. Don't just believe what people tell you. Dig deeply and try to understand deeply. I'm Uncle Hanzi.